Yeah, so what's going on, Gray?
Oh gosh. Okay, so one thing that happened in the news that pissed me off. I have to find it though. Um, let me see. Oh wait, you know what? I posted on my story. Here it is. So it's a clip from The View, and let me see. How can I share this? Oh yeah, copy link. Am I able to share a
Yeah,
screen on here and
like
play a video?
yeah, I think you can.
Okay, cool.
At the bottom,
Okay.
share.
So, all right. The video I'm going to share is a clip from The View. It pissed me off when I watched it live because I just watched it just to watch, you know, I keep up with The View because I want to make sure that, people are not, you know, getting all this information or getting all this neoliberal propaganda. And one of the examples that I'm about to show is Anna Navarro, who is saying that the Democrats don't have a primary. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Marianne Williamson's running for president. I'm pretty sure I mean, I don't agree with Robert F. Kennedy, but I'm pretty sure he's running for president as well. Oh, and I also remember that there's another party called the Green Party, and Cornel West is running for president. So no, Biden is not the only one running for president who isn't a Republican. Okay, we need to make sure that people understand that. And so I'm gonna go ahead and share
Oh, and
this.
also Joe Biden is a Republican, so there's also that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. Let me see. I have to allow things. Yes. Okay. What just happened?
Whoa!
Okay, y'all, let me stop this shit.
There's so many of us.
Okay, that was so trippy.
Fuck, fuck, am I on acid
Okay, can
right
y'all
now?
see the screen? Okay, so here you go.
I couldn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it at all?
No, nothing came up.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well, folks, I'm sorry about that. Um, I guess it'll be linked? Question mark. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no worries.
that's
I
what
guess
pissed me off.
yeah, I guess where do you think we're even headed for 2024? Like, do you think that like people that identify themselves as Democrats are once again just gonna kind of like fucking take it on the chin and vote for Biden again? Because I don't. I don't think there's enough there anymore. I don't think like you can just say, "Oh, well, this is for democracy. This is a vote against fascism." I don't think that's going to be enough for people because Biden has just absolutely fucking failed to improve the material conditions of people's lives,
Mhm.
like in any concrete manner whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah, and but you know what? Fulfilled one campaign promise.
Yeah.
He said he would not. Oh, I mean, he said things will not change. Things are
That's
not going to
things
change.
will
He
not
said that.
fundamentally change. Yeah.
Yeah, things are not going to change. And yeah, he's right. It is 3 years later since COVID. The only thing is
It's
there
really bad right
is
now.
yeah. Like, I was talking to my friends the other day, and we were talking about how good we had it during the pandemic when we were getting a livable wage, when we had the option to work from home, when we, quite honestly, I wish I could do that again.
I know. So I know, like it's it's actually insane, like that you think about it, that this virus is still like permeating like our society and going around and actually getting worse, and it looks like we're gonna have like another really bad fall and winter. Like the hospitality are already rising, and then when Heather jumps on this call, because she can articulate this information a lot better than me because she really keeps up with what's going on with the virus, um, the impacts that it's having on our general society in the sense of how many people are becoming um, disabled, like just flat out, like whether it's like physically disabled or intellectually or whatever, like it's impacting them so much in the sense where they're not even able to like perform their jobs, like they're not able to participate in the economy, and we're not, we're not talking about like 200 people, we're talking about millions of people.
Hmm. I agree. In fact, a lot of people don't talk about long COVID.
Yeah.
People, and quite honestly, I had COVID twice. Um, I mean, I still have a lingering cough. I mean, that could be from other things too. But like, I know a lot of people who are extremely healthy. I mean, who are extremely healthy, got COVID, and are now always getting sick.
Yeah,
Always.
I know.
Now,
It's
granted,
how
all of
bad
this
it's
is
impacting children.
anecdotal. Granted, all of my experiences and everything I'm bringing is anecdotal, but it matches what you're saying.
Yeah. Um, and it's just gonna keep on getting worse, right? Like,
Hmm. Yeah. Um, for sorry. My perspective is that we mishandled this virus to where, like, if another one were to come back, or like, let's say COVID decided to mutate fucking even worse and become this like bigger serious problem, I don't even know if we were to have another pandemic under a Biden administration, we would even get what we got, because we only got what we got was because Trump wanted to win re-election. Republicans only did that so that they can get Trump back in.
yep, yeah, totally. Um, and Biden, I it's disgusting that I even have to make this point, but I made this point frequently on this podcast. It's in the sense of Joe Biden has actually been to the right of
Mm-hmm.
Trump on COVID policy. Like if you think about it, Joe Biden immediately wanted to put people back to work off of unemployment, reduce the unemployment benefits. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
from $600 a week to $400 a week. Um, immediately to get people fucking back to work. Um, he gave us less money than Trump did.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Also,
yeah, that bitch owes me at least six hundred
also
dollars.
he wanted to immediately resume student loan payments, and the only reason that they got continuously paused was because he got such fierce resistance within his own party, and because so many people on the left literally raised hell about it. They were like, "What the fuck?" And now, like, we're getting like, I don't know, like I'm getting emails at least because I have student loans. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally every single day, they're like, "Oh, don't forget about your payments restarting in October." And I'm just like thinking the entire time, I'm just like how much gaslighting like seriously went into this entire like presidency. Like the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they told us like over and over again, like, and I never believed this at the time, like to be honest, like, but just the fact that they said it and tried to like actually make people believe this, that Joe Biden was going to be like the most progressive president since FDR, like it just like literally just makes me want to fucking throw up.
Yeah. Um, and you want to know who we have to thank for that? Bernie Sanders.
I know it's his best friend. He always just defends him.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think Bernie Sanders is a fraud. AOC is a fraud. Ayanna Pressley is a fraud. Ilhan Omar is a fraud. Everyone in government is a fucking fraud.
Yeah.
Because if you are going to run on this progressive platform on Medicare for all, climate action, education for all, abolishing ICE, all of this shit, how dare you say Joe Biden's my friend? How
No.
dare you call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear? They are not your friends. They are your mortal enemies.
Yep.
And this goes for any other fucker who decides to run for office. Um, and I'm talking straight to people who I know who are running for office, okay?
Hmm.
Um, you do not mingle with the Democrats. You can run by Democrat by name to be on the fucking ballot. I don't give a fuck. But you are not friends with them. They are not your fucking friends.
No, they're your enemies.
Yeah, be friends with your staffers. Fuck it. I don't know. Sorry,
Like,
that was my rant.
it's just like, what the fuck? Like, Gray,
Mhm.
like, we're so screwed. Like,
Mhm.
seriously, as a country. Like, people are just so trapped into this two-party mindset.
Mhm.
And, like, there are just so many people that you talk to that are just, like, not at all, like, focused on the issues. Or at
Yeah.
least, like, in the sense of like not the same issues that you and I would like consider a problem, right? Like they're not.
Or like they only know it from TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah, or like yeah, or they have like very loose amount of knowledge about the topic, so they of course end up applying like a very fascistic right-wing approach to any sort of policy. Like, oh, like we don't need to build more shelters for homeless people, we just need to throw them in prison. Stuff like that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't even know if this is true or not, but there was this like I think it was on a meme page, so it probably isn't true or anything. But it was like a clipping of a news title saying Jeff Bezos donates half of his wealth to climate action. But the funny tagline was, "Ooh, someone got visited by three ghosts last night."
Did
Um,
you
but
see
in the
the
comments, oh wait, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, go ahead and finish.
I was just gonna say, but in the comments, people literally were saying, "Oh wow, he donated half his wealth to something that doesn't exist. Why don't you help out homeless people and people who are hungry?" Whoa, why? What do you think caused that? You know that climate change is going to be the number one reason why people are displaced in the next 10 years. Do you not realize that famine is caused by climate change?
Exactly.
Use your brains.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I really don't even know what we do.
I know. It's like what do we do? What do we really do? I don't know. Just stop fucking voting for these fuckers and just stop like we really need to move away from this two-party system. We can't. Both parties do not serve the people, thus we can't trust them.
Right, and like how can people just like continue to just kind of like sit back and be like, watching the world burn on the news. And then you know what? Like actually I'm gonna shout out one of my favorite Instagrammers right now and just like one of my favorite people that I follow, Anarcho Spirituality. So he had a slide where he was talking about like what's on the news, and it's talking about how like everything's on fire related to climate change. And then it says like below that all the advertisements, which are like fucking gas guzzling cars, which are jets, which are like going on cruises, everything that's accelerating the climate crisis. And it's just so perfect. And it's the exact same corporations that are telling you that there's a climate crisis are the same ones that are pushing the advertisements that are driving the climate crisis.
Yeah. One thing that pisses me off about climate action though is that when we like, and this is coming from a capitalist approach, They always like to blame the consumer, but not the billionaire company who is literally causing it directly.
Yeah,
Granted, yeah, there are better practices that as consumers we should do,
there's
you
no
know,
ethical consumption under capitalism.
but exactly, there you go. There is no ethical way to participate in capitalism. Me buying a tomato can be unethical because who picked that tomato? Oh,
And
an
also, like, this is my problem too. Like, it's all well and good for people to switch to veganism or to vegetarianism, anything they can do to reduce their individual carbon footprint. But if you think in like the grander scheme of things, like just from like a practical, realistic point of view, people are
yeah.
not,
Oh
like
my
in a
gosh.
worldwide
Oh,
sense,
sorry.
people are not going to entirely stop eating meat. And if you can't accept that, you're just not acknowledging
Oh,
reality.
dang, I think he's frozen on my end.
Oh, sorry, you can't hear me?
Okay, you're back.
Oh, I was just talking about like it's all well and good to reduce your individual carbon footprint with vegetarianism or veganism or whatever, but like
Hmm.
you also have to be practical in the sense and like realistic in the sense of like um if you think about the entire world, like not everyone is not going to just go like vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah.
So it really like you have to have that mindset of there
Hmm.
is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Yeah,
At
and
the
that
same
yeah,
time,
that's what pisses me off about when again going back to blaming the consumers that some vegetarians and vegans will be like, "Well, just stop eating meat." I'm like, "Okay, if we were to just correctly practice, uh domesticating animals and slaughtering animals, like we can still do it. We
right?
have done it in the past where, I mean, yeah, hoarding, cows is like definitely affecting, the carbon footprint, but like, there's still other, animals that don't. So it's like you can still eat meat, but just not, um, I guess, farm them how they are, which is through like factory farming, which is disgusting and also abusive and just inhumane.
Yeah, like so. Oh, here's another podcast that I'm gonna shout out right now. Teach Me Communism.
Mm-hmm.
They did an episode about agroecology in Cuba
Mm-hmm.
and all the sustainable farms that Cuba was able to build during the revolution that
Mm-hmm.
worked with the land, involved native plants and like were ecologically responsible because it's not at all like counterintuitive to be able to practice agriculture and also
Mm-hmm.
be able to properly take care of the land. Indigenous people did it for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what happens under colonialism is that, there was this article about how, indigenous societies would when they would plant their food or whatever, they would mix some species together,
Hmm.
seeds together, so because they grow better and also don't ruin the land.
Yep.
And when the colonizers came in, they started doing a European style, which was, separating them and thus ruining the land.
So I've long been interested in the connection between witchcraft and feminism and
Hmm.
spirituality and all that. So I was actually reading about it the other day and from Indigenous Peoples History of the US and the author Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz like articulated it better than
I
anybody.
read that book for a class.
Yeah, it's so good, right?
Really
Like
good.
she articulated it better than anybody that I had ever seen, but it made so much sense in the sense of like the conjuring of witchcraft was
Hmm.
created by the wealthy, by the elite, by landlords,
Oh yeah.
anybody that possessed power, and it was always to discredit women that would speak out in any sense over people that asserted authority over them, or anybody that questioned like the notion of the
Hmm.
status quo, the patriarchy.
Yes. That's why I hold that term so dearly to me. I am a witch, and I am so proud to be a witch because, you know, people who were considered witches, yeah, everything you said, but they were literally just people practicing their culture
Yeah,
and practicing um worshiping the earth and what the earth gives to us. Worshiping the natural elements, fire, earth, water, air, spirit. You know, it was just honoring them and taking what they give back to us, you know, what the earth gives to us. You know, we give the earth love, the earth gives love to us. You know,
yes,
that should be very fucking simple, guys. I mean, it sounds more simple than a fucking guy in the sky creating the universe in 7 fucking days. I'm sorry. Um, but you know, and yeah, and all of that was against the Catholic Church.
hmm
Although they fucking stole some of our things like Yule and Samhain and the spring equinox, but you know.
yeah. One of the points that I was going to articulate, and I probably still will when we have the climate change and intersectionality podcast, is the impact that religiosity had on colonialism in the
Mhm.
U.S. in the sense of like with the Puritans, they literally thought that they had like a divine right to the land, that these people were savages, that they could just kill them, and they had no right to exist.
Yeah, and it continued on into Manifest Destiny.
Yep, exactly, which was a belief in social Darwinism, which is
Hmm.
another point that I've made before in the podcast that Charles Darwin would have 100% rejected. Matter of fact, Charles Darwin would have agreed with Peter Kropotkin, mutual aid, a factor in evolution, because uh, Darwin agreed that species had to coexist with other species and assist one another, and also within their own domains
Hmm.
to continue on. Otherwise, they would have never been able to evolve. They had to cooperate. They had to
Yeah,
they had to engage in mutual aid processes.
yeah. And what happens when one species just decides not to? An ecosystem falls. And it's happened in the past. You know, it's just we just humans do it in a more spicy way.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like, it,
I'm sorry.
isn't it also crazy? Just like literally how much we've just like complicated the fuck out of our lives, just like over like the last like 500 years. Like
Whoever
other
invented money, I swear to God, I just want to rip their
I
throat
know,
out.
like Mother Nature gave us everything. The Amazon rainforest alone is believed to have the cure for every known human illness.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Or maybe it did and it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, we probably all burned it down for cattle,
Yeah.
for beef production in Brazil. But like also, I don't even know like if this is
Well, also here's another thing. I truly believe like like the idea of like magical beings. I feel like humans, we were probably one of the most powerful species in the universe at one point. And this is just going spiritually. Okay, guys, if you do not subscribe to this, this is all you. This is just me speaking out of my ass, okay? Um I truly believe that once we started complicating things, we lost touch with our inner selves and our connection to the earth.
yep.
And from that moment, you know, we could have been badass witches, but you know, the human species went a different route.
I know. And just like the general like arrogance
Hmm.
of the human species is so crazy. Like even in the sense of like where we live in Southern California, right? So like I don't live in the San Fernando Valley, but I live like close enough and also have like reference to it geographically.
Hmm.
Back in the 1800s, there were people that would survey the land and they would just kind of like look around and they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, this is a desert. Like, nothing grows here. Like, it doesn't make any sense to put like hundreds of thousands of people here. And then William Mulholland in the early 20th century
Oh, I know that fucker.
builds the California Aqueduct, steals a bunch of water from Yosemite Valley. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, fucking stands there, gives a speech to the city of Los Angeles, and he goes, "Here's the water, take it." And the reason that Los Angeles is able to have the millions of people that it has is because of all the water that it steals from the Sierra Nevada mountains, which of
Mhm.
course is on indigenous land. But that's another conversation that we can have. And then in the city of San Francisco, they get their water from the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, which is also in Yosemite National Park. So think about this, right? Like we have two cities that have all kinds of people, that have all kinds of connections to our economy, that have like all kinds of power in the world economy, that are literally spending
Mhm.
all kinds of money, energy, fossil fuels, all those emissions to pump water from the Sierra Nevada mountains over to their city centers because there are places that are too fucking dry to sustain the populations that they have. Like, just think about how crazy that is.
Yeah, it's I okay to I and that kind of brings me back to this one thought that I'm trying to form into words. I don't think let's say we try to strive to a more sustainable practice. Like, how can we even do that? Like you just said it. As of right now, we are stealing water from indigenous land. Um, how do you have a Los Angeles if we just stop doing that?
You don't. LA doesn't exist. San Francisco doesn't exist.
And it's like, what do we do? Like, I, we're like, is there no going back or?
I don't know what we do because it's like literally the places that have the least amount of water. And I'm not even talking about LA and San Francisco right now.
Hmm.
Talking about Arizona. I'm talking about Texas, like
Hmm.
talking about New Mexico, like Salt Lake City, Utah, places that are in mega droughts in the Intermountain West that are just growing massively in population because of the housing crisis. And this isn't even just from California anymore. Like at this point, like the housing crisis is literally nationwide. So people
Hmm.
that are migrating from any sort of major city are migrating like to inland of the US away from the coast, like to sort like escape from costs. But like, everything is just becoming like kind of like similar and relative. And it's really crazy because it's like where do you even go? So like all these people are just like moving to places that have less and less water, places that are like increasingly getting warmer. Arizona broke their record this year, and there are all kinds of fucking idiots, of course, Gray, that will say things like, "Oh, it's the desert. It's of course going to be hot." But in Phoenix, literally saguaro cactuses or cacti, I should say, were dying because they had over a month straight of 110-degree days. They were melting. And
Wow.
these are cacti. These are evolved to hot temperatures. These are evolved to deal with desert conditions. But even cacti, are sensitive to these temperatures.
Hmm.
In Spain, there were palm trees that were melting.
It's getting very scary, and like I think about my nieces and nephews, and I'm like, are their children or like are they even gonna breathe? Or are my nieces and nephews gonna make it to their 60s being able to breathe? Or am I even gonna make it to my 60s? Are we even gonna breathe in the 2060s? Like,
I know, like I wonder, like, am I gonna be able to like even live where I live in 20 years?
yeah, like the 2040s. We're closer to 2050 than we are like to like the 90s. Like we're we're, we're close. I mean, we're reaching that point to where that number that we got like a couple years ago is like we only have 8 years or whatever. Like it's coming. We only have like 2 years, guys.
Yeah, they're in 2018 they said we have 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay, so
2030 we have 7 years.
yeah, we have 7 years left. Okay, yeah, so we don't have to. So we have 7 fucking years. But what's gonna happen?
Yeah, did you hear about Jeff Bezos's personal fucking rockets? Uh they were releasing so much methane that they picked it up at the International Space Station. So, for the viewers, the people that are going to listen to this later, that don't know this, methane literally is 3 times more potent than CO2.
Yeah.
So, the fact that they're able to pick up these giant plumes of methane from space just should wrap your head around how fucking massive these emissions are. And then also, if that wasn't bad enough, I'm also hearing that this is a cheap source of space travel, and this is only just going to get worse in the next few years because this is, of course, just another personal billionaire vanity project where they can just launch themselves off into space or whatever, and they can just shoot off rockets um,
Oh,
for their
these
own personal good,
motherfuckers,
even if they're not on them,
they
and
they
it's
they have a way
releasing
out.
all kinds of emissions.
Yeah, and you know what? They have a way out. They know that the world is going to burn up. They know they fucked up, and I'm pretty sure that these fuckers have a way out.
Yep. I mean, the co-founder of OceanGate, I don't know if you saw this, Gray. He wants to send 1,000 people to Saturn by 2050. And I'm like, can you just send the 1,000 like richest people in the world?
Saturn? What the fuck are we gonna do on Saturn?
Oh yeah, so
It's a
here's a
goddamn planet. That's
so,
what's gonna happen.
so here's another beautiful thing about Saturn, right? For the listeners. And also Gray, like if you don't know this, like the story about Saturn's great. So scientists think that billions of years ago Saturn actually was sustainable for human life. But guess what happened to Saturn? Saturn became a runaway greenhouse. So there was too much CO2 in the atmosphere that it became a planet that would fucking vaporize you to death. So ironically, our our billionaires are releasing methane, which is contributing to CO2 and global warming on our planet and working on their personal escape to go to Saturn, which only exists because of runaway CO2 emissions.
And this is fucking Ocean Gate.
Yeah, this is the OceanGate
Why
co-founder.
are they always like? Do they not see their own silver lining, or not? Their own like. I'm trying to find the word for this,
Irony?
guys. Irony. Thank you. Thank you. Because their vessel, because of lack of regulations, crashed into the ocean in the same spot where there was another ship that crashed into the ocean because they didn't listen to regulations. Like,
Yep, because they said that we would never be able to sink. Yeah, it's quite crazy, right? It's almost like history knows something. It's almost like you're supposed to learn from it.
it's almost like you're supposed to reflect,
Yeah, and it's
you know?
almost like money and safety like are not correlated.
Hmm.
And like your ability to survive in something like that is not guaranteed just because you're a fucking billionaire. Like you still have to think. Like like seriously, it's so crazy that submersible was operated by a Logitech controller. How are you gonna spend 250 grand? Like what?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so That story, I don't want to give light to that story anymore. I'm done with it. But
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's all I'll say about that as well.
um, I will say, like, these billionaires, like, are not scientists.
No,
Because if they were scientists, they would not be doing this shit.
no, and I think it's even worse than that. They think that their money like outweighs science.
Oh, yeah. They think that they are the most smartest people on the planet because they have money.
Like, no, of course I'm not gonna die. I spend a lot of money on this, or I have a lot of power. Like,
But that goes to another thing is like they people like become so like driven by their own like wealth to where that they think they have power, and then they have this sense of entitlement, and then they go off and do whatever they want. Like, y'all just need fucking therapy.
yeah, right. So like, you're a person that's in the arts. Have you ever studied Andy Warhol?
No, actually, I haven't really studied him.
So you know the classic Campbell soup cans
Oh yeah.
that he painted. So
Uh-huh.
that was actually to critique mass consumerism in America because of the way that they were perfectly like aligned and the accessibility that people could just like grab them off the shelf and how it was like marketed to the working class and all that. But like
Uh-huh.
my broader point, Gray, is like we've only been doing like this mass consumerism lifestyle since like the 1950s, since like the post World War II era, which was just like a miracle. It was just like random that it ended up happening that the United States became the top like power at the end of the war, and that ended up getting involved in the war and all the production and all that. Like it was just like a complete like random kind of coincidence, for lack of better words. But like, isn't it just like crazy that like this has
Hmm.
just been like so deeply ingrained like into all of our brains, into like our collective consciousness, just for like 70 years?
Well, I will say this: there are stages to colonialism,
Yes.
and colonialism evolves. And we are such at this late stage colonialism, this late stage capitalism, that we as a species forgot what life was before colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
And, as things happen, things change, you know, dramatically. They dramatically changed. The way we learn, the way we consume, the way we interact with each other. And, like, just it had such a bigger impact than people think that colonialism does. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't just a bunch of countries who took over land and then it became America and yada yada. Like, no, it's deeper. You gotta dig a little deeper, y'all.
Yeah, and the now late David Graeber. Shout out to David Graeber. Amazing. If you never heard of him, look him up right now. Um,
Hmm.
he was talking about the psychological impact of colonialism and how colonialism has now colonized our minds.
Mm.
And I've talked about this on a panel before, in the sense of social media, in the sense of like the 24-hour news cycle,
Hmm.
sense of like you can never like really like truly like actually fucking get away from late stage capitalism. And like I kind of alluded to this the other day in one of my Instagram posts when I was talking about how Futurama predicted that corporations would ultimately try to um, tap into our unconscious and assert advertisements into our dreams.
If I am dreaming, if I'm having one of my good old steamy dreams and an ad pops up, I'm gonna be so fucking angry.
Yeah. um, I can't remember her name right now, but there's this woman that talks about this concept called surveillance capitalism, and that is
That just sounds scary.
and and it's terrifying, but that's the world that we live in. And one of my things that I started thinking about even prior to COVID is like I think what really like turned me into a leftist, besides like Bernie Sanders and besides like seeing that there might like possibly be like a leftward turn in the Democratic Party, was really the protests that were going on in Hong Kong, the anti-government protests in 2019 prior to COVID.
Mhm.
And so just like seeing that like really I think was so impactful because like, and this is not going to be popular among some people that listen to this, but like frankly, like I think China's fascist.
Oh my God. Okay. Can we talk about that? Stop using China as an example of socialism. Stop it. Stop it. Use Cuba.
Yes.
China and
Stop
Russia are
fucking
not
yes.
good
And
countries.
stop defending North Korea. What the fuck?
Y'all need to shut the fuck up with that bullshit because they are not good countries. Just like the United States is not a good capitalist countries. The social, socialism can also be bad, right? In the wrong hands, it can't.
Yes.
Anything that can, any you put any power into a certain person's hands, it can either be really good or it can be really bad, and that's what they are.
Thank you. Like somebody that actually like understands that fucking point.
I gotta take a hit after that. That's some bullshit. Like, I don't understand why people fucking do that shit. Like, it's so annoying. Like, China literally has concentration
So
camps
so
for
yeah,
Muslims.
you know the way that I look at it, Gray, is that these people are not like, and I'm an anti like, fuck, never mind, I don't want to say it like that. I'm pro leftist unity, so I'm like anti leftist infighting, is what I meant to say.
Hmm.
And so like everything that I say when I criticize the left,
Hmm.
I try to have it like contain like substance. Like, and so like in the sense of like defending China for like hardcore leftists, or people that identify themselves as hardcore leftists that defend China, I'm like, no, like, really, all you're saying is just like I'm anti-America. People that are like pro-Russia, pro-China, like fucking, pro any of these states that assert themselves on a geopolitical scale opposed to the United States.
Hmm. Um, one of the things now you can say, hey, Russia has some good policies. Hey, China has some good policies.
Right.
In North Korea, you can say that they have good policies, but still call them out on their actions.
Yes.
Every country is going to have some good
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah, like India. I think Modi's a fascist, but I shouted the Indian government out the other day, literally because they've helped save thousands of tigers.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, thanks for the tigers, but fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. You're a fascist piece of shit, but thank you for saving tigers.
Yeah. But and you know what? We also, it goes back to like our own government. Like, remember how when people you remember how when Democrats like got all horny for Liz Cheney because like she
She was
was
the
calling
one
out
person
Trump.
that spoke out against Trump for
I'm
January
like
6th. Yeah,
93% of the time she voted for him, guys. Like, come on.
yeah. It's because the bar is so low. Like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, it's
Hmm.
and and really like the Democrats have moved so far to the right that Liz Cheney like is almost a Democrat. Like she's not even really a Republican.
Oh, okay, guys. I'm gonna spill some tea on the show. Can I please spill some tea on the show?
Yeah.
Okay. There is I guess he's a Democrat. Maybe, I don't know. His name is Alex Smith. He ran for LA City Council
Hmm.
as a this 19-year or 20-year-old progressive
Yeah.
who ran on like great policies and everything, but recently wrote a book called in defense of Joe Manchin and why it is vital to have a Joe Manchin in order for democracy to exist. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're going to defend someone like Joe Manchin who actively votes against the things that you say you believe in? And okay, that's not important. And um you're going to write a whole book about it? Are you kidding me? You, no. And you're right. Like the Democrats are so far to the right to where we have progressives praising Joe Manchin.
I know.
He's the reason why we don't have a $15 federal minimum wage. He's the reason, along with freaking what's her
You
name from
have,
Arizona,
yeah, you have, oh, yeah, cinema.
Cinema. Okay,
Um,
yeah, those two, they're fucking like, oh, you were cutting out. I'm not too sure if you were saying something.
I mean, like, you just have the Democrats that are like defending Joe Biden and
Mm-hmm.
and if that wasn't bad enough, pushing the message that if you don't stand with our leader, you are pro Donald Trump. They're literally pushing the same bullshit that they pushed in the in the previous election and the one before. Like if you're not with us, you're against us. It's a cult mentality for the Republican Party
Mm-hmm.
and the Democratic Party, and both parties are anti independent critical thinking.
They're anti-democracy. They both are. Because if they weren't, then Democrats would be having a primary right now. If they weren't, then Democrats would support and uplift other parties to exist instead of taking them off the ballot like they are with the Green Party.
Yeah,
If they weren't so afraid.
yeah, I know. And like, I'm an anarchist, so like I don't even I think our issues are way beyond politics anyways. I think that our issues actually exist because of politics. Um
Mhm.
and,
No,
and
I truly agree.
it doesn't make any sense to me in 2023 that we even have like a president. We live in a country with 300 million people. Like
Hmm.
it's absolutely insane. Anyways, I'm gonna jump off though, Gray, because it looks like
Hmm.
nobody else is gonna join. We've been on for about an hour, but
Oh
let's get.
wow, this was such a great chat.
Yeah, I always love talking to you.
Oh,
Let's set something up in the future though.
yeah, and you are always well. Oh, we just finished season 2 of Let's Talk Weekly. So season 3 will be coming in January. So you'll be contacted shortly in like the next couple of months. So.
Sounds good. Go ahead and shout out your show real quick before we wrap
Oh
up.
yeah. Hey y'all. So my name's Gray Arias, she they pronouns, and I am one of the hosts of Let's Talk Weekly, a YouTube um, political talk show where we talk about pressing issues, current events, and highlight community leaders and also people who want to run for office. They're always welcome. And we also have, great people like Jordan.
Well, thank you
Um,
so much.
so y'all check that out. And then I'm also in a musical at Cal State LA. Um, I am in the musical Something Rotten, so that'll be in November. So yeah,
Well, thanks so much again, Gray, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
thanks, y'all. Bye bye.
Peace out.